What are your major concerns?
Uh, our concerns are based on our research, which was done by our modeling group, the timing and affordability of this deal. The research that you referred to, Matthew, was done by ran a national energy modeling model, looked at how electricity demand is projected after the global financial crisis, the recession, and also what other options are available. And we concluded at the time that nuclear power would come into the grid in 2029 or 2040, take 10 years of that for lead time, and we need to make a decision in 2019 or 2030. The IRP update did a very similar thing and said it might be 2015 or later, but not now.
So I think the basic question that's all on our minds is, can South Africa afford this?
Well, pretty clearly not. This huge investment, and the ranges are large, between 300 of estimates of this investment between 300 billion and 1,400 billion. I prefer to say it that way because 1.4 trillion is a meaningless category to me. It's a very large investment, the largest ever, between 4 and 20 times the arms deal, to contextualize that. That cannot be financed off Eskom's balance sheet, and Treasury has been very clear just in the last few days that it cannot extend further sovereign debt guarantees, which are other ways in which such things can be financed. The announcement in the cooperation agreement does talk about Russian funding. And then the question becomes, what I would really like to know is, what would the terms be of how we would pay back? Because the idea that this is somehow for free would be naive.
The DA Shadow Minister on Energy, Lance Grayling, said he believed that the South African people were being kept in the dark. I mean, that talks have been going on, and an ANC delegation went to Russia. You know, have we been in the dark about this, and has there been political interference?
Certainly what I can say is that I'm an energy researcher. I head a center of many energy researchers. It's our job to try and look at information coming out. And there hasn't been transparent, clear information on nuclear power. It's a fact that nuclear power is excluded from our new generation regulations. We really believe that all technologies should be treated the same. But nuclear power seems to be treated in a very special way and in a political way. The decision making does appear to be political rather than based on the best available technical information.
And Steve Thomas of Greenwich University, who was out recently, said that the reactors that South Africa are considering are behind schedule in other countries. Do you want to talk a little bit about the background behind those reactors?
Certainly, and Steve Thomas is a real expert in the economics of nuclear power, and I think particularly one of the Finnish reactors is long behind schedule. What I think is particularly interesting, given what seems to be happening now, that we seem to be going with the Russian vendor-financed investment. There's been an attempt to do this in Turkey, and a so-called build, operate, and own, not build, operate, and transfer, but build, operate, and own model where Russia would also bring the investment. That started in 2010, and the last reports I've seen have been that the power purchase agreement, which would determine how Turkey would pay back, has still not been signed. And that means that's important. So we need to know if we get locked into an agreement that requires us to take all the electricity from these plants and pay that at a fixed cost. What is that cost going to be? How many cents per kilowatt hour? How does that compare to other options? We don't know any of those things at this point.
I mean, based on the company itself, and that if you had to look at it, that it's behind in these other projects, it wouldn't seem like the best bet at the moment compared to other countries who are also bidding, I'm sure.
Well, generally speaking, procurement of any scale, well below the scale, but certainly at the scale, must be a competitive process. And previously, really, the options, there have been talks with France. Areva has had a presence in the country for a long time. China, Westinghouse, several, even South Korea has been mentioned. So what is unclear at this point is a cooperation agreement has been signed. From what I've seen, that's actually fairly broad. But what's in the news is that this means that 9,600 megawatts, which actually is a number that comes from the old electricity plan, the IRP 2010, still our official one, but not the update, that this means that Rosatom will be effectively awarded a very, very large contract. The terms of those contracts are a crucial matter of national importance and should be fully transparent.
So what are the implications for ordinary South Africans for this deal, or for the arrangement?
Well, the implications are that our national debt may almost double. Our national debt is 1.4 trillion. Add another, I'm guessing, because I don't know where in the range this will run, but let's guess it comes at 800 billion or trillion. It'll add a huge amount to our national debt. We will pay this back one way or another, and that will reflect in electricity prices.
Is the government doing this for the good of the country, or is it doing it for the good of other causes? Is that the main question?
I don't know. I don't know the answer to that question, Matthew. I don't want to speculate about the intentions of government, but what I will say is that I think that all energy technologies must go through a transparent and rigorous and competitive procurement process. And if any technology should go through that, nuclear power should go through that as much as any other, if not more so.
What other energy technologies are out there that you think should be on the same playing field as nuclear?
Well, in the typical kind of modelling study that we do, and that was also done for the IRP and its update, you run an energy model and you look at all the options. You look at coal, you look at gas, you look at renewable energy. Amongst renewable energy, we're seeing a big independent power producer program up to 3,000 megawatts, 3,500 megawatts. You look at imported options. There was also not so long ago an agreement signed with the Democratic Republic of Congo relating. So you look at all of those options. You look what's available. You look at different plant requirements. And that's the basis of decision making, where you say, let's take the best available technical information. And then let's also make decisions under uncertainty. Let's not commit to one huge big investment right now, but let's rather say, as the IRP update actually does, to say, if we get to 2015 and demand is actually high and the nuclear price that we can actually get to South Africa is relatively low, then proceed. But if demand is low or the price is too high, then don't proceed. That's a sensible frame of decision making.